Any other new developing takes here late in the process from you?
Yeah, another thing that came out of putting a mock draft 3.0 together, I've sort of warmed up to the idea of addressing the skill spots on day 3. I feel like the first 2 days you got to address the trenches. I feel like that's where you're deepest in the draft and at edge rusher, I think. And so I think they have to address that. I think they could get an interior defender as well, and of course tackle. And so I feel like that's where they should go. I think that's just my opinion, but that's where I think they should go on the first 2 days of the draft, not just in the first round. And then you get into the 4th round, 5th round. Like, I think there's some intriguing prospects in there. Some guys they met with. Trevor Etienne, the running back from Georgia, they just met with pretty recently. I feel like he's a good candidate for them to go in the 4th or 5th round. There's a tight end I think they might like, Thomas Fadone from Nebraska, who's been dealing with injuries, but he's got a chance to be a pretty good, receiving tight end, and they could get him on day 3. And so I feel like that's a sort of a decent spot for them to address those skill spots. And there's of course wide receiver. I just feel like this year wide receiver is another one where it's like you don't want to overspend on a wide receiver in this particular draft. There's no perfect prospect. I certainly don't want them to take one. I don't want them taking one at 4. I don't want them taking one, trading up at the end of the first round to get one, or take one at 38.
Even if somebody falls, even if like Matthew Golden falls.
Well, if Matthew Golden falls to 38, I could see.
What if he falls like 28? You can get up relatively easily.
I'd rather move up for the tackle if that's going to be the spot.
Well, all right. Not to.
But I'm thinking like
here. Will Campbell at 4. Matthew Golden falls.
Yeah, like I guess I could see that, but like I just don't see that happening either. I feel like Golden's going to be one of the guys that also goes early because he's one of the only guys that plays that premium position who has a really good chance to be a really good player. I feel like everyone else has flaws.
The mock draft me and Cerrone did yesterday on the air?
Oh, I missed it. What happened?
I had him going to the Raiders. I had him going to the Raiders.
Oh, really?
Or no, the one I published this morning. I had him. The Raiders trade back to like 10, and they take Golden at 10. I think I had him going 8 to the Panthers in that one. I think he's going to go sneaky high. I do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just don't see that happening, and so I feel like I don't want them to reach for a guy.
That time of year, you got to twist the knife a little bit.
Yeah, get to day 3 and take a flyer on a guy. Like, I would understand if Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel go into this draft saying we want to get our guy at wide receiver. But I would hope they invest in that guy on day 3. Like, you could do it in the 4th round, do it. They're at 106. Like, do it at 106 if you want. I just feel like that's a good spot where you can just take a chance on guys that, have upside. Their draft stock fell for one reason or another. Just don't overspend on those spots. Like, invest in the trenches on the first day, like first couple days. Like, you need those guys, and that's where you're sort of deepest, especially on the defensive line. So that's where I sort of hope they go. If they end up with one of the higher end receiver prospects somehow, I'd be happy. I just don't think realistically that's going to happen. So I would like to see them invest in the skill. Wait until day 3 to invest in the skill spots.
Eat your vegetables, right? It's interesting you say that. So
get your candy at the end.
We did this exercise, and we can do it here in a second, but we did it yesterday on Sunday Kickoff, which was like, all right, Patriots have 4 top 100 picks, assuming they make that many, right? What are the 4 positions you think they're going to address? I did have running back on there. I didn't have wide receiver, and I kind of had some people be like, what are you talking about? No receiver in the top 100? And yeah, it would be kind of weird. The way this draft is set up, I could see it. Now, I'm not totally against them doing it. If Jalen Noel falls to 69, or you can trade up a little bit and get him, or Kyle Williams or a guy like that, maybe, if they're in on Luther Burden, I don't know where they're at, where they're going to be at with him personality-wise, but like if they're in on him and he falls to 38, like I would like to see them, if somebody falls, take advantage of that, especially if they've already gotten the tackle. But I could see them waiting. I could see them waiting. If I had to guess what skill position they're going to draft the highest, I think it's going to be running back. I do. I think in skill position, you're talking running back, tight end, receiver.
You mean the highest according to like expectations?
No, I mean like which of those 3 positions do they draft first?
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, sorry.
I think there's a chance it's running back. And that's not Ashton Genty at 4, and probably not even 38, but like Dylan Sampson they've met with at 39 would be a really good fit. If one of the Ohio State guys falls, I could see them liking both of those guys. I don't think Henderson's going to, but maybe Judkins falls. I'm not entirely ruling out Cam Scadabo. I think he's a little bit older, And maybe he doesn't have the longevity, like the projected longevity you might want a top 100 pick, but I'm not ruling him out.
I think you just
Amarian
want to say
Hampton, somebody in the
Scatterbo.
chat brings up. That might be part of it. Amarian Hampton, somebody brings up in the chat. I don't think he's getting a 38, but if he gets a 38, like that would maybe be the one. But I would not be surprised if they wait on wide receiver. It's not a great class. I don't think they're going to force another guy who's just going to be stuck in the middle of the depth chart. If they're going to take a wide receiver, it has to be somebody who brings something they don't have. And there's not a lot of guys like that in this draft. And people are going to roll their eyes and say, what do you mean? Like, all they have is guys who suck. How does nobody in the draft offer something they don't have? A lot of these receivers might suck. Not all of them. Not all of them. And again, if they pick their spots, like there are situations where it makes sense. I don't need them to get another guy that's going to middle in on the depth chart in the third, fourth spot. And we're going to spend the first month and a half of the year asking where he is. And then he's going to play. And we're going to say he's playing too much because he's not ready. Like we've done that time and time again the last 4 or 5 years. So Jalen Noel brings something they don't have with his explosiveness and the projected volume that he has. I think Kyle Williams, his ability to get open at all 3 levels, brings something they don't have. To your point, you want to go later on day 3. You want to try to get an X, Torrey Horton, Dante Thornton. Are these guys going to be superstars? No, I don't think that guy's in this draft. So you got to find a role player who adds something that you don't have. I will give some of the people, if they want to go X, I like Trey Harris. I like Elick Aomanor. Jaden Higgins, I don't think I'm as high on as some other people, but I wouldn't hate that pick. But like there are guys in there that can do that. But just getting another guy who's kind of, all right, well, he plays a bunch of spots and he's not super athletic, but he has the versatility and blah, blah, blah. Like, all right, fine. You have 3 or 4 of those guys right now. And I think you adding another person who's not going to necessarily get the reps or anything like that, I don't know how that helps. There's not a lot of spots. There's not a lot of spots available in that room. So if you're drafting like 2 or 3 guys, or you're drafting a guy that isn't going to play, like you're not necessarily helping yourself out, especially in top 100. This is kind of my beyond they need a tackle. This is kind of my big picture take on the Patriots draft, Matt. Their top 100 picks, however many there end up being, should be at least 3. Be nice if they can get to 5. Their top 100 picks need to play in 2025. Not Josh Simmons recovering from injury, not a wide receiver who's more of a project and you're going to get in next year. They need the injection of talent. Their top 100 picks need to play. They don't all need to play 100%. Ideally, the first round pick does 38. I think if you can get him in 70s, 70 to 80% usage, depending on the position, would be great. And then those day 3 picks, I'm hoping at the least are like heavy rotational players, like a third down back or a third down pass rusher, right? Guys are going to play in key situations, maybe a deep safety, somebody like that. The one exception I'll carve out is if they draft a right tackle, like Ozzie Trapillo, who the plan is he's going to come in and learn behind Morgan Moses. That's the one exception I'll make to that rule. But besides that, the top 100 picks need to be playing. If you're drafting a receiver who maybe won't compete with Kayshon Boutte for the 3rd spot before Stephon Diggs comes back, I think you can do better. Maybe not at that position, but I think you can do better overall the way this draft is set up.
Yeah, like exactly. So it sounds like you kind of agree with me, but like, yeah, maybe if it's Jalen Noel or if it's Kyle Williams, in that 3rd round, I wouldn't hate that. I just don't need them to take. This is especially why another reason that I love the Stephon Diggs signing is that you're going in this draft. I feel like they don't have to draft a receiver.
Great
I feel
point.
like they could come out of this draft and not draft a receiver and maybe sign a UDFA just to have another body at camp. And like I'm okay with that because you just ran through it. Like a lot of these guys, they're flawed, they're redundant, they're not necessarily going to bring anything different to the table. Like that's why I feel like most of these receiver picks, especially the ones that are going to be in their range on day 2, like you're not going to get a guy that's going to be that much better than what you already have. And so like this is a year where I feel like you could sort of punt at the position and like invest in the trenches, get your left tackle, solidify your offensive line, solidify your pass rush. You're going to be much, much better in the trenches. You're going to be much, much better on defense. You're going to protect Drake May better. You have Stephon Diggs. I think if all those things sort of fall into place, you're going to move the ball a lot better. You don't have to reach for another receiver. when you already have 7 guys basically that are like in competition for spots and like are sort of all going to bring a lot of the same things that you might get from a guy like Jalen Noel or whatever. Whoever you want to name.
Well,
Like,
see, so
I can't look
think
at it like
Noel,
they need a receiver, so you got to take a guy because they need a receiver. Like, this isn't the year to do that.
so I think this is where we disagree. I think we agree on like 80% of it, but there are some receivers I would count as an exception. I think if they draft Jalen Noel, he's going to be on the field a lot and he's going to play and he brings an explosiveness that they don't have.
Sure.
So if it's Noel,
he was in mock draft 2.0.
Right.
Noel.
If it's Noel, great. I got to pull up the list of
1.0. I had Jalen Noel in 1.0 and Kyle Williams 2.0. I would take those guys, not just to be clear.
Okay, yeah. So like those are the kind of guys because they give you something, mainly speed, that you don't have and you need on offense.